The invisible barrier that shaped two worlds. The Wallace Line, an invisible boundary with a profound impact. Hidden within the vast Indonesian archipelago lies an invisible yet powerful divide that has shaped life for millions of years. This boundary, known as the Wallace Line, is not something you can see, yet its impact is undeniable. It is a biogeographic frontier, one that separates two worlds of extraordinary biodiversity. On one side, the animals resemble those of mainland Asia: elephants, tigers, and woodpeckers. On the other, the landscape is ruled by marsupials, Komodo dragons, and vibrant cockatoos. At its narrowest point, this invisible border stretches across a mere 20-mile-wide strait between the islands of Bali and Lombok. To the naked eye, the water appears unremarkable, a simple body of blue that connects two islands. But beneath the surface, this strait has been a barrier for countless generations of wildlife. Despite their proximity, the creatures of Bali and Lombok exist in two completely different ecosystems, as if shaped by two separate hands of nature. This dramatic division fascinated naturalists for centuries, but it wasn't until 1859 that a man named Alfred Russel Wallace gave it a name and meaning. Wallace, a British naturalist and explorer, spent years traveling through the Malay archipelago, meticulously documenting the wildlife he encountered. He noticed something striking. Animals on one island were completely different from those on the next, despite being separated by only a narrow stretch of water. The discovery would go on to redefine the way we understand the natural world. Imagine standing on the shores of Bali, looking across the shimmering waves to Lombok, where the land appears so close you could almost touch it. You might expect to find the same creatures living on both islands, but nature tells a different story. The Wallace Line is a testament to the power of Earth's history, a silent reminder that ancient geological forces continue to shape life today. More than just a scientific curiosity, the Wallace Line teaches us that nature is not random. It follows deep, unseen patterns carved by time. It reminds us of the vastness of Earth's past and how every living thing is connected to an intricate web of history. Wallace's discovery was more than just a boundary. It was a doorway into understanding evolution, biodiversity, and the forces that sculpt our planet. Have you ever wondered how invisible forces shape the world around us? Just like nature, our lives are shaped by unseen boundaries too. If this fascinates you, tap the like button. It helps more curious minds like yours discover this story. The discovery of the Wallace Line, a journey of curiosity and insight. In the mid-19th century, a man armed with little more than a notebook and an insatiable curiosity set sail across the Malay archipelago. His name was Alfred Russel Wallace, and he would go on to make one of the most remarkable discoveries in the history of biology. While Charles Darwin is celebrated for explaining how species evolve, Wallace uncovered something just as profound: where species exist and why. During his 8-year expedition, Wallace meticulously documented thousands of animal species, hopping from island to island. But it was when he crossed the narrow strait between Bali and Lombok that he noticed something extraordinary. The change in wildlife was not gradual, as one might expect, but sudden and absolute. On Bali, he found creatures familiar to Asia: woodpeckers, rhinos, and monkeys. Yet on Lombok, just a short journey away, the animals were completely different: cockatoos, marsupials, and reptiles found nowhere in the West. This contrast was so stark that Wallace found it even more striking than the differences between England and Japan. It was as if an invisible hand had drawn a line across the ocean, dividing two separate worlds. And in a way, one had. But the question remained, why? What force had prevented these species from mingling despite their close proximity? Wallace, ever the thinker, realized that this divide couldn't be explained by distance alone. He suspected that deep historical and geological forces were at play. The creatures on either side had evolved in isolation for eons, shaped by events far older than humanity itself. He sketched a rough map of the boundary, marking the first step in what would later be called biogeography, the study of how life is distributed across the planet. His discovery would eventually help redefine biology, offering a new way to understand how species spread and adapt. Though Darwin overshadowed him in fame, Wallace's insight was groundbreaking. He had uncovered a hidden pattern in nature, one that revealed the deep connection between evolution, geography, and time. His work remains a testament to the power of observation and curiosity, a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries are made by those willing to look just a little closer. The geological and evolutionary forces behind the Wallace Line. When Alfred Russel Wallace first mapped out his invisible boundary, he didn't yet have all the answers. He could see the division between species, but why did it exist? What force had drawn this biological border between islands so close together? The answer, though unknown to Wallace at the time, lay deep in the Earth's history, shaped by ancient geological events and the slow but relentless march of evolution. Wallace correctly suspected that these islands were once part of two separate worlds. Today, scientists know that millions of years ago, the land masses on either side of the Wallace Line belonged to two distinct continental shelves. To the west was Sunda, an extension of mainland Asia, while to the east lay Sahul, a prehistoric landmass that included Australia and New Guinea. During the Ice Ages, when sea levels were lower, much of what is now ocean was dry land. Large animals like tigers, rhinos, and elephants roamed freely across Sunda, spreading from the Asian mainland to the islands we see today. Meanwhile, Sahul was home to a completely different collection of creatures, marsupials, giant lizards, and exotic birds, which had evolved in isolation. What prevented these two groups from mingling was the deep trench of ocean that separates them. Even at the lowest sea levels, the strait between Bali and Lombok remained a powerful barrier, too wide and treacherous for most land animals to cross. This natural divide meant that for millions of years, the species on either side continued to evolve separately, never mixing, never meeting, until modern humans took notice. But Wallace and his peers were missing one crucial piece of the puzzle: plate tectonics. It wasn't until the 1960s that scientists fully understood that Earth's surface is not fixed. It moves. The slow, grinding motion of tectonic plates is what built mountains, split continents, and formed entire islands. For over 25 million years, the Australian tectonic plate has been drifting northward, pushing the Sahul continent closer to Asia. This explains why Sunda and Sahul, once separated by vast distances, are now neighbors. Yet despite their closeness, their biological differences remain because the deep waters that Wallace observed still act as a barrier, preventing most species from crossing. This discovery reshaped the way scientists understand biogeography, the study of how life is distributed across the planet. The Wallace Line is more than just a boundary. It is a time capsule, a living record of Earth's ever-changing landscape. It shows us how ancient forces, long before humans arrived, sculpted the natural world we see today. Wallace may not have known about plate tectonics, but his keen observation led him to a truth that still stands. Our planet's past is written in the life that surrounds us. Every tree, every bird, every creature carries the story of its origins, shaped by the invisible forces of time, evolution, and the shifting earth beneath our feet. You're halfway through this journey, just like Wallace was when he made his groundbreaking discovery. If you're enjoying the adventure, let me know in the comments. Would you rather explore the wild forests of Asia or the untamed lands of Australia? Type Asia or Australia below. Wallacea, the mysterious middle ground between two worlds. Between the stark biological divide of the Wallace Line lies a region unlike any other, a place where the rules of nature are rewritten, where species from two vastly different worlds attempt to coexist. This region is known as Wallacea, a transitional zone where Asia meets Australia, yet neither fully dominates. It is a biological frontier shaped by isolation, adaptation, and the relentless forces of time. Unlike the islands of Sunda and Sahul, which were once part of large continents, the islands of Wallacea were never connected to either. They were born from the sea, rising from volcanic activity and the slow shifting of tectonic plates. Because of this, they began as blank slates, devoid of large land mammals, waiting to be populated by whichever creatures could make the treacherous journey across the ocean. But who would make it? Not the tigers or rhinos from the west, nor the kangaroos or koalas from the east. Instead, Wallacea became a refuge for creatures capable of flight or long-distance dispersal. Birds, bats, and reptiles, animals that could navigate the vast stretches of water, were the ones to stake their claim. Over thousands of years, they adapted to these isolated islands, evolving into unique forms found nowhere else on Earth. One of Wallacea's most famous inhabitants is the Komodo dragon, the largest living lizard on the planet. Its ancestors came from Australia, yet today it thrives in the islands of eastern Indonesia. How did it get there? Likely by island hopping, taking advantage of lower sea levels in the past. This same process allowed other Australian species, like cockatoos and honey-eaters, to establish themselves in Wallacea, creating a mosaic of life that defies traditional boundaries. Wallacea is more than just a buffer zone. It is proof of nature's resilience and adaptability. Life always finds a way, even in the most challenging conditions. The creatures of Wallacea are survivors, pioneers of a world where two ecosystems collide yet never fully merge. Today, this region remains a hotspot for scientific discovery, offering insights into evolution, migration, and how species adapt to new environments. Wallacea is a reminder that Earth's history is still unfolding, written not in books, but in the wings, scales, and footprints of the extraordinary life that calls this unique place home. The lasting impact of the Wallace Line, a legacy written in nature. The Wallace Line is more than just a scientific curiosity. It is a timeless reminder of how Earth's history continues to shape the present. Even though it is invisible to the eye, its influence is felt in every leaf, every wing beat, and every footprint left on the islands it divides. It stands as one of nature's great mysteries unraveled, revealing how the deep past still echoes through the living world today. For over 160 years, this invisible boundary has fascinated scientists, explorers, and thinkers. It was the key that helped unlock biogeography, the study of how species are distributed across the planet. Wallace's discovery laid the foundation for understanding that geography is not just about land and water. It is about life itself. The patterns of biodiversity we see today are not random. They are the result of ancient migrations, shifting continents, and evolutionary adaptations spanning millions of years. But perhaps the greatest legacy of the Wallace Line is the way it has inspired generations of scientists to look closer, to question, and to explore. Wallace's discovery was not about creating divisions. It was about understanding connections. It showed us that every species carries the history of its land, that the Earth itself has written its story in the creatures that inhabit it. Wallace may not have gained the same fame as Darwin, but his contribution to science is just as profound. His work was not only about evolution, it was about the grand design of life on Earth. His discoveries remind us that our planet is alive with history, and that every creature, no matter how small, carries within it a tale as ancient as time itself. Even now, the Wallace Line continues to shape the natural world. The deep waters that first prevented tigers from reaching Lombok still exist today, keeping the eastern and western ecosystems distinct. Despite human advancements, nature's barriers remain. There are still no elephants on Flores, no cockatoos on Java, and no Komodo dragons on Bali. The forces that once sculpted these landscapes are still at work, still defining the limits of life's great migrations. Lessons from the Wallace Line: the invisible forces that shape our lives. The story of the Wallace Line is more than just a scientific revelation. It is a profound reflection on life itself. It teaches us that boundaries, both seen and unseen, shape who we are. Just as deep ocean currents separated species for millions of years, our own lives are shaped by unseen forces, our past experiences, the people we meet, and the environments we grow in. But the Wallace Line also shows us that change is constant. Continents drift, species evolve, and over time the world transforms. No matter our age, we too are always adapting. The past may define us, but it does not confine us. There is always room for growth, for discovery, for new beginnings. For older adults, this is a powerful reminder. Life is still unfolding. Just as species continue to evolve on either side of the Wallace Line, we, too, continue to learn, to explore, and to find meaning in new experiences. The invisible barriers in life may seem permanent, but with curiosity and resilience, we can overcome them, just as nature always has. Thank you for exploring the wonders of the Wallace Line with me. If this video sparked your curiosity, drop a 111 in the comments so I know you made it to the end. And if you love learning about the hidden stories of our world, hit that subscribe button, because there's so much more to uncover together.